you who see this program every Sunday, you know that this is the program where we discuss range of issues of South Asia, issues regarding environment and climate change. First of all, I should say Merry Christmas and ensuing New Year to all of you, also to my guests who are wonderful panel. I'll be introducing the panel later to you. But before I go to today's program, let me share with you some of the main news from South Asia this week. To start with, the growing impacts of climate change have already pushed more than 18 million people to migrate within South Asian countries. But that may actually be trebled if global warming continues on its current path, said Action International and Climate Action Network, South Asia, CANSA, in a recent report. The report says that nearly 63 million people could be forced from their homes by 2050 in the region as rising seas and rivers swallow villages and drought-hit land no longer supports crops. While India is likely to have the highest number of climate migrants, the comparative rise will be maximum in Bangladesh. It is not a new news, but a new report saying a new data and a new concern. Next is, on Saturday, Indian Space Research Organization Chairman K. Shivan said that the space agency was developing green propulsion for its ambitious human space flight mission called Gaganyaan. As India continues to focus on economic growth, it needs to ensure that environmental damage is limited by adopting green technologies, said Shivan. ISRO has made space-grade lithium-ion batteries. This technology is useful for mass adoption of electric vehicles. That's a very, very encouraging news. And finally, not so encouraging, India's farmers' unions asked government to hold talks on next Tuesday. The request came as 40 farm unions held a meeting to chalk out their future course of action and take a decision on holding talks with the centre as the deadlock continues over the new agricultural laws being pushed by the BJP-led union government. The agitation near Delhi borders, which began late November, has entered its 31st day. 5 rounds of talks between the government and farmers have failed so far in the last few months, but there's always a hope next time. So that's some of the major news from South Asia. Today, the program, as you know, is being brought by Climate Channel, a television channel from Canada, in collaboration with the Plurals, Indian media platform. Today we'll be talking about the fishes. Today we'll be talking about where the fishes have gone, or are they going anywhere? How is the fishery industry? And we have some of the best names in the region to talk about it. Let me introduce the panel for you. I have with me today Rajarshi Banerjee. Rajarshi is the president of India West Bengal region, and also linked to, he's a member of the Marine Products Export Development Authority. Welcome, Rajarshi, to the program.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Then Dr. Dilip Kumar, Policy Advisor from India. He has worked with so range of organization, FAO of United Nations, and he's also the ex-director of ISAC Mumbai. Welcome to the show, sir. Dr. Dilip Kumar, I think your presence is so important, so vital call. We have with me Dr. KBC Pushpalatha. Dr. Pushpalatha is the Director, National Aquaculture Development Authority of Sri Lanka. Dr. Pushpalatha, welcome to the show. We are also having Dr. Yuvraj Singh Jadava, who is the Director, Bay of Bengal Program of the Intergovernmental Organization, and I know his immense work in the sector. I'm really, really privileged to have you, Dr. Jadava, in this program. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, everybody, and though a day late, but still wish you all Merry Christmas.
Absolutely, to all of you.
Happy and joyful New Year 2021.
Absolutely. And we have Today, Dr. Abdullah Nasir, Dr. Nasir is the Vice President of the Maldives Coral Reef Society. And welcome to the show, Dr. Nasir. I know it's a short notice, but so privileged to have you, sir, in this program.
Thank you very much.
And then I have two wonderful experts from Bangladesh. Dr. Nausad Alam is a professor of Bangladesh Agricultural University from Mymensingh, Bangladesh. Welcome, Dr. Alam.
Yeah. Good evening to everybody, and Happy New Year to 2021.
I think in advance. In fact, Dr. Nasir was going to say something when I think I started introducing Dr. Alam. Dr. Nasir, I think you were just kind of saying something. A quick word?
I just wanted to say good evening and thank you for inviting
Absolutely.
me.
And let me also tell you that since this program started about 4 months back, 3 or 4 months back, this is the first time we have somebody from Maldives. So I hope with your support, in times to come, we'll be having more representation from Maldives, because Maldives needs to be heard in this platform. We really want Maldives to be heard here. And then finally, we have with me Dr. Rashidul Haq from Bangladesh. He's the former Director General of Department of Fisheries, Bangladesh. Dr. Haq, welcome to the show. I know your immense expertise in this area and your work. So I think we'll all be privileged to hear you today evening. So that's the panel for you. That's the panel. Thank you. That's the panel. Let me start. As I said, that we'll be trying to find out 3 basic things from today's program we try to do. We'll try to understand the present scenario. We'll try to understand the present problems. And also the solution. So there's no point only in talking about the problems, not about the solution. So we have around 45-50 minutes at our disposal to discuss a very important topic. I know this time is inadequate, but this is the structure and we all have to complete by that time. So let me start with Dr. Dilip Kumar. Dr. Kumar, fishery. And before I go to Dr. Dilip Kumar, let me share a couple of data with you, I think, which is, you all know this data, but for the people who are seeing this program, South Asia occupies only 3.5% of world surface area, but 25% of the global population live here. So that clearly shows the amount, the population density. And then, if you look at the coastline, South Asia has, I'm talking about India, Bangladesh, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan particularly, more than 10,000 kilometers of coastline. India has about 7,500 likewise, but then Bangladesh is having about 580. The figure that I have, you may be correcting it in future. The Maldives about 300, Sri Lanka about 1,300, and Pakistan around 1,000. And more or less 10 million people in South Asia depend on fishery for survival, for their livelihoods. The figure is much bigger than many of the European countries taken together. So that sums up the impact of the importance of fishery sector in South Asia, because government need not to do anything for their employment. They find their employment. Government has just to provide them a quality water and other environmental factors so that they can do the fishing proper way. But is it happening? Dr. Dilip Kumar, let me start with you. What's the current situation in EU's marine fishery?
Marine fisheries, really, we had some time where just to see it stagnated for some time, but again, but the growth is marginal, quite marginal. It is still growing, and but at the same time, inland fisheries compared to marine fisheries, inland fisheries really growing at a much faster speed. So currently, it provides about something like 28 or 30, 1/3 you can say, or more specifically, it is about 28% of the total fish production is come from marine fisheries. And but the one thing is very important that you see, about about 4 million people are somehow just to see engaged directly or indirectly with marine fisheries. They are involved in different activities. Some of them are directly just to see active, involved in active fishing, but there are some other jobs are also there where they are involved. It is transport, packaging, marketing, processing, and so on. And but one very important thing is that about say 54% women are also involved in this.
Okay.
And women, that is very important. And then women, they are involved mainly in marketing of the fish and also in the processing industry also there. And many of them are that you see they are catching larvae, shrimp larvae from the coastal area so that it goes to aquaculture to feed the aquaculture industry. And also they also collect shells in some of the areas, and that is also being marketed for both. It has got ornamental value, and at the same time it is something source of calcium that is also used in animal feed industry. So there are just to see, and one thing is very important here, that almost more than 50% production comes from artisanal fisheries. They are traditional fishers.
Okay.
They are quite poor, and just to see, they don't have really just to see mechanized boats or motorized boats.
Okay.
Some of them they have motorized, not trawler. So they are resource poor communities, and then they draw their livelihood from here,
Okay.
from this marine fishery.
Okay, I'll be coming.
Yeah.
I'll coming to you, Dr. Dilip Kumar, later to discuss more about their problems and issues. But let me go over to Dr. Jugraj Singh Jadhav, as because we have started talking India. Let us kind of talk about the Indian part. But Dr. Jadhav, I remember that maybe a few years back, I bumped into a fisherman in at the border of West Bengal and Bihar, and he said that the time he previously had to give to catch certain amount of fish, now the time has doubled or trebled. So the fishes are dwindling. Fishes are dwindling. What is the actual scenario? Because so many people depend on fishery sector for survival, for their livelihoods. Dr. Jadhav, what's your point on that?
Yeah, Jayanta, you're right to a large extent. There has been overcrowding of fishing boats in the coastal waters. And the result is that the resources in the coastal waters are almost exploited to their optimum levels. And the result is that fishermen have now to move further up in the sea to catch the fish. And, you know, the sea is the country, and for the partials, include up to 12 nautical miles, which is also the area which is within the jurisdiction of the coastal states. Yes. And the area outside 12 nautical miles gets into the jurisdiction of the central government. So within this 12 nautical mile, the resources are almost optimally exploited. Okay. And the result is that fishermen are now going outside the 12 nautical mile area. And there is, capitalization in the sector. No longer, we have the traditional fishermen as we had in the past. Now, even the traditional fishermen are using 2 outboard motors. They're taking up to 30, 40 nautical miles in the sea and catching fish. Okay. So I think the scenario has completely changed. And I would once again, agree with you that, yes, fishermen are now, they have to move further up in the sea to catch fish.
Is it for the dwindling of the fish kind of catch the fish in the sea? The fishes are being dwindling in the fish in the sea? What's your point?
You see,
or it is overfishing?
The good thing is that, we are in a tropical climate where most of the varieties, they bounce back very quickly.
Okay.
But in the scientific terms, the effort that is being deployed to catch fish is now almost double the effort that is actually required.
Absolutely. That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, so that's the reason that, people are able to catch less fish in the territorial waters, and they have to move outside the territorial waters to catch fish and, get their livelihoods.
Okay. So I think we need to discuss it in a greater depth, but let talk to Rajarshi. Rajarshi, you are the person who kind of look after this issue of the commercial part of it, the marine products going outside India like that. What's the situation out there? What your take on this whole situation of the marine products? Rajarshi.
I will initially, good evening to all. I will initially talk about the issues concerning the marine catch. We have to understand that the marine product processing stroke exports is concerned with the marine catch, which pertains to the sea, and the aquaculture, which is actually the inland development of the fishery resources. Now, as far as I understand, we are having primarily a discussion about the marine stroke the sea catch. Okay. Now, the issues which are concerned, which are the main issues as far as the marine catch is concerned in India of the last 2 decades, as well as the current time, as in the current time, is declining catches and overfishing in coastal waters. Okay. So essentially what's happening, like my previous speaker already commented, the near coast waters fishery resources are almost exhausted because the government hasn't actually enabled the fishermen to venture out into the sea, to far away from the coastline. So what we are seeing in terms of declining fish catches is what fishermen are catching within 30 to 40 kilometers of the shore. However,
Absolutely.
India's EEZ actually extends much beyond that. And there are huge resources, more than 4 million tons annually of resources existing in those waters, which belongs to India, which primarily contains of a large number of species headed by the yellowfin tuna and the skipjack tuna. Okay. Now, so what are the issues here? Declining catches and overfishing in coastal waters, in the near waters. Next is the post-harvest losses, which is the discarding of the unimportant species, the spoilage and reduced quality. Next, habitat degradation. Habitat degradation from industrial waste, domestic sewage, pesticides, etc.
We will discuss it specifically, Rajarshi, because that's a very important issue of the pollution and the climate change. But just for this particular round, if you can just tell us that it's a very important point you raised actually, that suboptimal use of our area of fishery that we have.
Yes.
But we'll come to that. But just what is the kind of scenario in the commercial scenario? Is it going more or going down?
Yeah, I'm just briefly highlighting, why the fish catch is going down. Because the near shore resource is actually being over harvested. There are illegal, unreported, unregulated landings. There is poor implementation of regulations like meshed size of nets.
Okay.
These are factors which are cumulatively contributing to the fall in the fish catches in the near coast waters.
Okay.
But let us be clear, there are facilities for developing, enabling Indian fishermen to go out further away from the coast to harvest the resources which India has, as well as they can venture out into the international waters. Now what's happening as far as the east coast is concerned, as well as some parts of the west coast, a large number of vessels from Southeast Asia are actually coming illegally into Indian waters, fishing and stealing our resources, which is also contributing to declining fish catch by the Indian fishermen.
Okay, that's very interesting, and I think that's where this whole importance of being collective dialogue comes into the picture. That how you can stop being cutting into each other's territory and actually can be a win-win scenario. Let go to Dr. Nasir. Dr. Nasir, I think Maldives. We all know Maldives for its fishery. What's the situation out there? Because Maldives has been one of the areas in the world which is being maximally impacted by climate change and other factors. So what's the current situation in Maldives? Dr. Nasir.
Yes, thank you. I think the Maldives is best known as the world's leading destination for tourists, actually. So people will be wondering why we even talk about fisheries when the Maldives is the world's leading destination for tourists. In fact, the largest influx of tourists since we opened after COVID is from Russia, and India is second. So India have been visiting the Maldives and know this very well. But although we are a touristic nation, historically the Maldives has always been a fishing nation. We have been fishing for 2,000 years, and we have depended on fish and fisheries for as long as we know. And we are very good at catching tuna and tuna-like species. So we catch about 120 to 130,000 metric tons of fish, of which the majority is tuna, mainly skipjack tuna and yellowfin tuna. So we have very specific fisheries on skipjacks, a skipjack fishery, a yellowfin fishery, and also an inshore reef fishery. So this is the three main types of reef, three main types of fisheries that the Maldivian fishermen revolve on. And we are highly dependent on fish and fisheries. And so we cannot we cannot part with fisheries despite the developments in tourism. We have about, the population of the Maldives is about 400,000, and at least 20,000 are fishermen. And well, that includes tuna and both coastal fisheries as well. And you can imagine when you multiply that 20,000 by maybe a family of 4 or 5, that becomes 100,000. And so
100,000 total
of the country, 1/4 of the population of the countries are totally dependent on, directly dependent on income they earn daily from fishing. So this is something that we have to look at when you look at the dynamics of different nations around the Bay of Bengal, and how we can show how important fisheries is for the economy, for well-being, for livelihoods, and also for the economic development of the country. So yeah, that is basically how the fishery in the Maldives operates, you know.
Okay, just before I go over to the next participant, what is the current situation? You mentioned it, but very precisely that are you facing trouble in the fishery sector, or you are happy what right now is there? What's your take on that?
Of the fish species that we catch, about 80% of our catch will be skipjack tuna, and skipjack tuna stocks are considered to be in the Indian Ocean. Skipjack tuna stocks are thought to be robust and well managed. The skipjack tuna, but not other tuna species. So in that sense, we are doing very well. We also have we have stubbornly managed to keep to pollen line fishing, the method. We don't use any nets, which is completely banned in the Maldives. In that sense, we in the Maldives have a reputation for being involved in a sustainable form of fishing, especially when it comes to tuna and tuna-like species.
Okay. Great. I think we need to know more about the Maldives fishery sector and how a kind of a collective regional policy can be structured at or aimed at. But let me go to Sri Lanka first. Dr. Pushpa, can you hear me? Are you there? Can I have the kind of opinion from Sri Lanka? Dr. Pushpa?
Yes.
Oh, great. We can see you and hear you. Great. Please tell us, because I know your connectivity is an issue. So please tell us that what's the situation in Sri Lanka? How is the fishery sector doing? Are you happy with that? Is it growing or it is diluting? What's actually happening out in Sri Lanka? Dr. Pushpa.
Yeah, in Sri Lanka, it's a growing sector, especially in marine and also in inland fisheries and aquaculture. It's growing up. And in Sri Lanka, more than 86% of the fish production coming from the marine sector. Marine sector involved in the coastal fishery and deep sea. In addition to that, around 14% fish production coming from the inland fishery. It is the growing sector because there are a lot of reservoirs available for the development and water resources available for the expansion of the aquaculture. Therefore, regarding the marine sector, tuna fish is the main species
Tuna is the
contributing.
main one.
Yeah, in addition to that, the other swordtail fish, shark, shearfish, trevally and mullet also contributing. In inland fisheries sector, there are carps, tilapia varieties contributing for the fish production. Regarding the number of fishermen, more than 2.6 million people engage and providing livelihood for the fisheries and aquaculture sector. And regarding the export fishery products, around 275 million contribute through the export market by exporting the fish products.
Okay. Okay.
And per capita in Sri Lanka now around 16.8 kilograms per
Is the
year.
sector growing, Dr. Pushpa?
Yes, now marine sector not growing so much. It's coming. Yeah, coastal fishery is stable now, so we can't expand further. That's why most of the fishermen finding livelihoods in aquaculture sector. They are joined to the aquaculture sector, seaweed culture, coastal
The
aquaculture.
shrimp and all. The shrimp and all.
Yeah. But in the deep sea, there are so many problems to expand because of the high cost, and there is an opportunity to expand deep sea fishing.
One of the participants from India said, Rajesh actually said that India is being suboptimally using its marine resources. The fishermen are not going beyond the point where they can. So is the same thing in Sri Lanka? Are you also, do you feel that you are suboptimally using your water resources in the sea?
In marine sector, deep sea, there is a opportunity to expand, but coastal fishery already, the small scale fishermen are optimum utilizing that resources.
You reached optimal level.
Yes,
Okay.
but the inland fishery, there is a big potential to expand. That's why government also giving more attention for the inland and aquaculture.
Okay. I think I understand this inland fishery and the kind of complete marine fishery. Perhaps the borderline is not very strict and they overlap into each other. I'll know from the experts from there. But let me go now to Bangladesh. I come to Bangladesh the last part of this first round because Bangladesh, and I am from the Indian state of West Bengal, which is basically kind of a part of Bangladesh, it's beside Bangladesh in Indian part, and we are all fish lovers. Bengalis cannot pass a day without fishes. So what's the situation in Bangladesh? May I start with Dr. Alam and then I'll come over to the other expert. Dr. Alam, what's the situation in Bangladesh, both in marine fishery and in general? Dr. Alam.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Basu. And actually, you know, Bangladesh is a very tiny country. It's only 148 square kilometer country, and this country has to nourish 170 million people. So our fish production is huge, both inland and marine, and in total we are producing 4.2 million metric tons of fish. It is the world's largest per capita per unit area land production. If you consider the production per unit area of land, it would be the largest production so far in the world, because from a very tiny areas we are producing a huge number of fish, and our fish covers almost 86% from inland capture and culture fishery, and 14% from marine fishery.
Okay.
And you see, in a capture fishery, culture fishery in Bangladesh, it's a social revolution, because we have to culture fish. We have to explore more and more new resource in fisheries, both inland capture, culture, and marine capture also. And we're also going to introduce some coastal aquaculture and mariculture also, because we have to. Otherwise, we cannot nourish our people. And that's why it's becoming a social revolution in the country whole. And what is happening in the actually in capture fishery, our in marine sector, we have industrial fishery and also artisanal fishery. But artisanal fishery is covering almost 95% of total marine fisheries, because industrial fishery is only one out of 0.65 million metric ton. Only 0.12 million metric ton are coming from industrial fisheries, and 0.53 million metric tons are coming from artisanal fisheries. But one great thing is that this artisanal fishery includes Hilsa fishery. It is one of the loveliest fish in the world, most tastiest fish so far in the world. We all consider it the most tastiest fish in the world. And it is from our almost 60 to 70% of total Hilsa catch are coming from Bangladesh waters.
The global Hilsa catch.
And for the last couple of years, for the last 10 years, because of so many interventions from the Department of Fisheries and from the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, and from the research organizations, for example, Bangladesh Fisheries Research Institute and the universities, they, with their joint effort, the Hilsa resource have developed tremendously. Almost a 20 to 25% production rise has been happening.
So you're basically saying that the fishery sector is growing well, is doing well in Bangladesh, is growing.
Yeah. Yes, it is growing, especially in inland capture culture fishery. It is tremendously growing, and in marine fishery also, because for the last couple of years, marine fisheries also has raised tremendously, including this Hilsa and other fisheries. So it is
great.
Growing.
Let us hear
so many
from
management measures have been taken by the government.
Okay, great. Let us hear from Dr. Hawk. Dr. Hawk, I have been to Bangladesh few times and met many people, including the fisher folk, and they were always complaining of many issues, despite what Dr. Alam was just talking about, the huge potential and being doing so wonderfully. But still, there are issues. There are issues of pollution. There are issues of high level of salinity. There are issues of overexploitation, and likewise. What's your take? And also climate change, many saying that are impacting the growth. What's your point on that, Dr. Hawk?
Thank you very much. For Department of Fisheries and Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock has taken so many measures for illegal fishing. Dr. Alam is nicely presented that the Hilsa production is the major production of inland as well as marine production. So government will now give the attention to the marine fisheries catch. So in the coastal belt, near about 4.15 lakh fishers groups are living there. Their livelihood depend on coastal belt as well as among the 64 districts, 14 districts covered by the fishers group, 4.15 lakhs fishers that their livelihood depend on the fisheries, fully fisheries. So they catch jatka called jatka, the baby of the Hilsa called jatka. So government will take measure to banding 65 days for marine catch banding. It's started to 20 May to 23 July. So the Bay of Bengal is the one of the unique nursing ground of the all marine.
Absolutely.
So at that time, government will ban 2 months, 65 days, more than 2 months, 65 days, 20 May to July. So at that time, fishers are unemployed. So government will give the subsidy for 40 kg rice every month per fisher.
The livelihood support at that point of time.
At that time, as well as during the Hilsa breeding, the main peak period, government will give the subsidy to the fishers group, the 20 kg for 22 days ban when the Hilsa breeding occurs, and as well as the marine catch, the fish when they stop their marine catch, at that time government will give the subsidy.
Okay, just one supplementary quick question: is the Hilsa catch growing, or it's kind of stagnant, or going up?
Last year, Hilsa production is 5.17 lakh metric ton. Now we can expect the production will increase, boost up, and it will be 5.5 more than that.
Please send something to Bengal so that we can also test the Padma and Meghna fishery. We are all waiting so eagerly to have the test of your Hilsa from the Padar Meghna. Thank you. We'll come to that. Let's go back to Dr. Dilip Kumar. Dr. Kumar, very quickly, because I have two questions, one round and another round. We'll try to find the solution, as I said. What's the situation from the environment and the climate change point of view, Dr. Kumar? What's your take? Where are the critical points in the fishery right now, marine fishery too, particularly? Dr. Kumar.
Yeah, there are, because of climate change, there are both negative as well as the positive changes are also there.
Okay, okay.
Some of the factors that really, just to say, create negative impact is surface rise in the sea surface temperature. Then we have acidification, and also just we have that. And because of these two, there are so many impacts are there. Positive impact is there that some of the fishes, like marine fishes, like say two species, especially sardines, wild sardine,
Okay.
and mackerels.
Okay.
They have earlier, they were just to see, they used to occur, they used to remain only during the, just to see, all along its southern tip. But now after that, it has moved both sides, east side also, and west along the west coast also, and just up. So it is something, it is the extended availability of that one. So that is the, and the other one, that due to the temperature change, some of these fishes are also just found that you see they are deeper. So that is negative.
So both sides.
Because just catching is a problem, but otherwise availability has increased.
Okay.
Both
Great.
sides.
Okay.
And the negative side that you see, because of sea level rise, sea warming and sea level rise, and after that you see it has got also impact that you see from the, say, water reserves, like in the glacier, and then icebergs, and so that melts, and after that it comes. So that is also just to see changing the ecosystem of the coastal region.
And also
and then coast means yes.
Okay. I'll come back to you for the solution part, Dr. Kumar. I think that's a very critical part.
Okay.
But before that, let me go to Dr. Jugraj Singh Jadava. Dr. Jadava, Dr. Kumar talked about the climate change, but say pollution. Few months back, a fisherman from in West Bengal was telling me that when they are now going to catch fish, they are catching more plastic than fish. So that's the kind of reality. So what's your take, Dr. Jadava, on that? That what the human being contributing to the sea, to the water, how that is impacting and affecting the fish catch or the quality of fishes? Dr. Jadava.
Yeah. You know, the seas have become the receptacle for all the garbage that we create on the land.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the innumerable rivers, their tributaries, and also the wastewater drainages from the metropolitans, they all empty into the sea. And the result is that a very large quantity of untreated human waste, which contains both, you know, liquid waste and solid waste, that all enters the sea.
Okay.
And this waste is impacting the aquatic life, both plant and marine, in the nearshore waters.
Okay.
And you mentioned about the plastics, you know. So, you know, there are lots of research work now available to us. And a very recent research work, I'm not recollecting the name, but it's a multi-author and multi-country research work, in which it has been informed conclusively that plastic has entered almost all parts of the fish. And from fish, you know, it gets into the human being.
It's out of the human being.
So I think
So-
that's a very dangerous situation.
That's a very dangerous situation.
Where nanoparticles, they're entering the fish body parts.
We will
And
try
then
to
they're entering into the
find out an
human being.
answer that what the governments are doing across South Asia on this. But before that, let me go to Rajarshi. Rajarshi, are you facing any problem while kind of exporting fish to the other countries, sending fish to the other countries or the aqua products because of the quality part of it or anything of that sort? Rajarshi?
Not so much in terms of the fish quality, but what we are facing is, number one is that the size of the catch, the size of the fish is actually becoming smaller. Okay, because the nearshore resources are being depleted, hence the larger fish is continuously getting caught, and government is not properly governments in many states are not properly implementing the net mesh sizes, as a result of which there is a depletion of the adult species, and the juveniles are actually left in the sea. So what happens after that is that then the mesh size is made even smaller. So we are now catching smaller and smaller sizes all the time. Number one. Number two is, there are issues like in terms of export, the export markets, the importing countries have actually developed their own environmental norms as well as the resource protection norms. So issues like turtle exclusion device, which are to be installed in the fishing vessels, have now actually become mandatory for countries like US. And in fact, US has actually stopped importing the marine fish for a temporary period from India until the turtle exclusion device is mandatorily installed in all or most of the Indian vessels.
Till when this ban is on? Till which period?
This is going on now. This is going on right
So
now.
ban is right. So
yes,
as of now,
they've
US
already,
not taking.
US,
As of now, US is not taking.
US, I should not say it's not taking. There are ways of getting around problems also. But if you go in a straight line path, the marine exports of India are getting extremely hindered into the US market, because US is insisting on the installation of EEDs into the fishing vessels, and they have in fact sent 2 teams already.
Okay.
The government of India has made a presentation, and they will be sending further survey teams, only after the clearance of which India will be again allowed to export
I
marine
think it's an
catches.
extremely important piece of news which Rajarshi has just shared, that I think because today it is US, tomorrow it may be European Union, you never know. So we need to be very careful about our own resources and how we are packaging them internationally. That's great, Rajarshi. I think that's a very important point, and I know as a very, very important person of this whole cog in the wheel that you are really working on that. I'll come back to the last round with also you, that the solution part. But before that, let me very quickly go over to the other participants. First to Maldives. Dr. Nasir, very quickly, is there environmental issues as important as you find in India? You have heard the Indian experts talking about pollution and climate change, and likewise, Dr. Nasir, what's the situation very briefly in your country?
Yes, thank you. You can all see that the Maldives is totally different to other bigger neighbors, although and not only is it very small in size, but it is a country built up with entirely of coral reefs. So whatever we do is intricately linked to coral reefs and their health and vitality. Our main fishery, the tuna fishery, is we depend on the bait which comes from coral reefs. So if climate, if we can't address the climate change issues, if we can't address the coral reef health in relation to climate change, then our whole way of fishing will have to change. So this is our main concern. The coral reefs, mangroves, seagrass beds, nursery areas. I mean, all these are predicted to decline over the next many decades due to climate induced issues. And so we are very concerned about climate change and what it will do to our overall fisheries.
Okay. I think that's I know, but Maldives is one of the part of the world which is being extremely impacted by climate change, and when in the climate summits globally, often Maldives scenario is being talked about as one of the case studies. But I think from the fishery point of view, it's equally important. Let's go to Sri Lanka very quickly. Dr. Pushpa, you can hear me?
Yes.
Very quickly about the situation. Is there like India, are you facing the same problem of environment? We need not elaborate, but are you facing the same problem of pollution and climate change in fishery sector in Sri Lanka?
Yes, conditions, pollution, climate change, change of the rainfall patterns, everything same to Sri Lanka, same as India. Yeah.
Same as India.
Yeah, same as India, and also pollution also affecting to all the breeding grounds and changing water quality and plastic, polythene, solid waste, liquid waste, everything same. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you another question. I think which I will then come to all the experts. That we have all heard that, as you just said, that you have having similar problems to like India, and we have also heard the Bangladesh expert talking about their situation, which is not very different, and Maldives is also there, and likewise. So don't you think that, and also Rajesh was pointing out that maybe other South Asian countries, the boats are coming to the Indian territory, catching the Indian fish, and we are perhaps sometime trying to go to over. So don't you think that we need a regional policy on fishery, but mainly of the marine fishery, because we are sharing the sea? So don't you think that this is something government level to start with, but must be in the academic level or the other experts level? What's your take on that? Dr. Pushpa, can you hear me?
Yeah, in Sri Lanka we need intergovernmental cooperation is an important thing. That's why regional cooperation as well as the country-wise is essential to cope up with the challenges of climate change. It's important.
We have something called blue economy in SARC. We are having something called blue economy in SARC, but it's more in the words rather than in practice. So don't you think that it needs to be strengthened up to be in future? Dr. Pushpa, very quickly.
Yeah, blue economy also important, and also the greater cooperation among the South Asian countries as well as the Asian countries. It's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
many thanks. Let me go to the Bangladesh. Maybe Dr. Alam to start, and then I'll come to the other expert. Dr. Alam, first of all, that the environmental issues and the climate issues, any assessment that how it is impacting the Bangladesh fishery? Very quickly.
Yes, as you know, Bangladesh is one of the worst suffering country in the world, and is the most one worst sufferer maybe because of 10 to 15% of the land goes underwater every day due to poor tidal flow. Because Bay of Bengal, we have with us Dr. Yuvraj Singh Yadav and Dr. Dilip Kumar, two very prominent marine fisheries expert. They all know that Bay of Bengal has got some unique characteristics. This is 4 distinct tidal flow in 24 hours. So this is very worstly visible in India and Bangladesh. And what happening every day, 10 to 15% of the land area goes underwater.
So the problem is huge.
Yes, another is a salinity intrusion. It's a very severe due to global warming and temperature rise, along with pollution, along with other impact. Salinity intrusion is very severe. So coastal aquaculture has becoming very problematic nowadays in our country. Another is due to temperature rise and warming, post-harvest loss, quality loss, post-harvest loss are of many different kinds. Some losses are physical, for example, discard and other things. And post-harvest quality loss is also one of the most important issues nowadays because of global warming. If we control post-harvest loss, we can add value to this fish without intensifying fishing effort. We can reduce fishing effort if you protect post-harvest loss. This is one of the important issues we should think of.
I think that's extremely important. Let me hear from the other expert from the Bangladesh. Now I'm coming to the last part of it. We have hardly about 7-8 minutes to go. The regional cooperation. All these countries are dependent on fisheries. So many million of people are depending on fishery on all these countries, be it India, be it Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and also Pakistan. We don't have any Pakistani expert today, but I know that Pakistan is also having a lot of fishery. But are we talking among ourselves? The government, I know that Pakistan is also having a lot of fishery. But are we talking among ourselves? The government may have the geopolitical reasons not to do that, but is it because the climate change is impacting, the anthropogenic pollution is impacting? We need to talk together and find a solution together. So what's the situation? Let me hear from the Bangladesh that what is the situation? Dr. Rashidul.
Yeah, can I supplement one more point to Mr. Alam, Dr. Alam? So siltation is one of the another factor in Bangladesh. Due to climate change, the siltation, each and every river are silted. So if the desired depth are decreasing, then it's a problem for production and fish catch.
Okay.
So now I come your question. You can say that the geo cooperation. Bangladesh and India has already a cooperation every year. Both countries sit together for water sharing. So it's a last 3 or 4 years. We cannot get any benefit from the regional cooperation. So I think it's a better solution to throw the platform of shark. If we can discuss this issue through shark, then So
SARC, you feel, is a good platform to discuss it more seriously. Because now we talk about the blue economy. When you're talking about the blue economy, you need to talk the whole region together. I know the African countries who fight among themselves talk together when the issues of common interest come. But why can't we do that in South Asia? We need to do that. Let me go to Dr. Nasir. You would like to add anything, Dr. Rashidul, or in this part, anything more you would like to add?
I think when it comes to management of fisheries, the way we fish in the Maldives, which is fishing from a migratory stocks of the Indian Ocean. So we can't manage Indian Ocean fisheries, Indian Ocean tuna fisheries on our own.
Okay.
So we are an integral part, just like the other countries of the Indian Ocean, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India. We are part of the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. So we lay a lot of emphasis on managing regional fisheries through the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, and we are fully engaged with the commission because it will be impossible for us to manage our fisheries totally based on tuna and tuna-like species, unlike other coastal fisheries of some of our neighbors. So we lay a lot of emphasis on regional management of.
So the regional cooperation is
yes,
is key.
But I do think that there are ways that we can cooperate amongst ourselves, amongst the nations of the South Asian countries. And Dr. Yadava would know very well of the formation of the Bay of Bengal program a long time ago, and also now the Bay of Bengal Intergovernmental Organization. I mean, these are specifically created, and members from these memberships are totally focused on small-scale fisheries, artisanal fisheries, and mainly coastal fisheries. So this sort of engagements with countries are very important in my point of view. And
very important. Perhaps you need to enhance that.
But we just don't have the time, I think.
Okay, absolutely. Before I go over to Dr. Dilip Kumar and Dr. Juvaraj to wind up. But before that, Rajarshi, as a commercial, as a market point of view, don't you see the need of this kind of regional cooperation to enhance the value of the product and enhance the business interest to a greater degree? Rajarshi, what's your take on that very quickly?
Very, very quickly, because I know you're running short of time. The government of India has come up with a national fisheries policy in 2020. Okay. Now, India being a party to several international agreements to deter, prevent, and eliminate illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, the government wishes to establish a sound mechanism among all the neighboring countries to ensure that the Indian fishing fleet does not engage in unregulated fishing, in contravention of any national laws and any bilateral, international, or regional conventions or obligations, concerning fisheries which are applicable to India. So we are actually looking at regional cooperation at a government level already. And the three quick bullet points:
deep sea fishing,
squids, etc., deep sea fishing, some of the trust areas for sustainable utilization of deep sea fishery resources are an optimal fleet size, which is also very important, modernization of fishing vessels and fleet size, and the prevention of illegal improvement of the sector. One is the deep sea fishing for harnessing untapped potential of high value resources like tuna like
deep sea fishing,
squids, etc., deep sea fishing, some of the trust areas for sustainable utilization of deep sea fishery resources are an optimal fleet size, which is also very important, modernization of fishing vessels and fleet size, and the prevention of illegal entry of foreign vessels into Indian waters, and as well as diversification of the catch and value addition. So
the all points you have made, many of them are actually being also important to take hold of other countries. Otherwise, when you are talking about the foreign boats not to come, you need to talk with the other countries to ensure that. So it's very clear that regional cooperation is definitely very important, not theoretically, but practically, actually.
It's both discussive as well as preventive.
Absolutely, for both. Let me go to first Dr. Juvaraj, and then I'll wind up with Dr. Dilip Kumar. Dr. Juvaraj, you have heard the question. Your take, because two of you are very experienced in this sector, been working for a long time. Do you think it's really practical, a feasible option to make a kind of a platform, a regional platform to talk about this issue? May not be government level, but the tier 2, tier 3 level? Dr. Juvaraj.
Yeah, as Dr. Nasir mentioned, the Bay of Bengal program is a regional body,
Yes.
And it's been in existence for the last 41 years. From 1979 until 2003, it was a field project of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And all the countries.
And we want to work with our colleagues, with our friends around the world, as we have from the beginning, to develop new treatments and
surrounding the Bay of Bengal were members of this organization. In 2003, it became an intergovernmental body. And at the moment, 4 countries, Maldives, Sri Lanka, India, and Bangladesh are the contracting parties. And the other 4 countries are the cooperating parties. And there's been excellent cooperation between all these countries in the sustainable development and management of fisheries resources. So, you have a very strong platform existing in the region. And a larger part of the knowledge sharing, larger part of sharing success stories, the South-South cooperation, etc., that is all happening because of these intergovernmental bodies in the region. Dr. Nasir also mentioned about the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, which is a management body, and all the tuna matters are being handled by by the IOTC, and the remaining things, the Bay of Bengal program is not a management body. It's an advisory body. It's a platform bringing countries together, as I said, for knowledge sharing, technology transfer, cooperation, South-South cooperation. So there are excellent mechanisms, for.
We need to perhaps strengthen it further.
Yeah, definitely. The sky is the limit. You can always strengthen
Yes,
these
absolutely.
bodies and move forward. I
Absolutely.
also want to make a correction. Our industry friend has been repeatedly saying that foreign fishing fleets are fishing in the Indian EEZ. I think this viewpoint needs to be corrected. It's not like that. Foreign fishing fleets are not fishing. Yes, there are accidental incursions into our EEZ, and our boats also go into the other EEZ accidentally. But there's no organized plundering or organized incursion of foreign fishing fleets into our EEZ. I thought, I must correct this, otherwise it might send wrong notice, and Government of India also might be concerned with the, this sort of statements made in a platform, which would have a universal audience. Thank you very much, Jayanta.
Jayanta, with due respect, I would like to
very quickly.
With that.
Very quickly, Rajeshri.
I would like to disagree with that, because there
we all have agreed to disagree, so no issue on that. So definitely it's a matter of perception, which may be considered accidental by Dr. Jadhav. You might be considering it more than accidental. So that perception issue is always there. But let me wind up with Dr. Dilip Kumar, getting away from this perception part. That Dr. Kumar, do you think that there is a scope for more inter-country kind of assemblage on the fishery, the marine fishery issue in the South Asia? Do we need to talk more in a structured manner? Dr. Kumar.
I think it is very good. And then, unfortunately, we have BOBP in place. We are talking only about marine fisheries. So if you consider marine fisheries, we have already a platform, like a very effective platform, and an already sustainable platform that is already working. I think we should make best use of that one. Okay. When we are talking about, so far marine fisheries and climate change impacts are concerned. Second thing, I fully agree with Dr. Yadav Sahab, what he has told about that, the foreign invasion.
No, I understand that. That's a different perception.
No, it is not. And in fact, I expected Dr. Banerjee Sahab, I thought that he's from the commercial side, as he will just enlighten all of us about this business prospect, how it is being affected. Somehow but he is very good, sound in technically very sound in the management of fisheries that he has shared already. But in addition, I would like to say that we need to have a collection. For that, we have a platform that all countries need to be active in that one. But at the national level also, we need to do a lot of things.
I understand that. I understand that.
And at the national, if you are able to do, our experience we can share, failure and success both, that is really just going to help the entire region. So some points I would like to say, that if we say something like we need to develop and implement some management plans to boost the resilience of inland and marine systems.
Okay.
So this is very important thing. Then something like habitat mapping, and also see how it is just being affected, and then how we can really contain. The other one that at the laboratory level, science level also, we need to have research terms also to see that how the some of the genes that is.
Okay, I think there are scopes, as you said. No, absolutely, Dr. Kumar. I think there are scopes, many scopes to work on that. We named this program "Fishes on the Run," and we find during the course of discussion that yes, I personally feel, after kind of hearing all of you, there are ample scope to increase discussion. It is quite clear, even within the India, there are 3 participants. We are not agreeing on certain things. There are always we can always agree to disagree. But the point is, maybe the information is not percolating to everybody in an equal manner. So clearly, Dr. Nasir was talking about the importance of climate change. The Bangladesh experts are talking about the importance of pollution and climate change, so the Indians. So there are common problems, there are common prospects. So if we want to maximize this prospect and minimize the problem, we need to talk. We need to be more in touch with one another. And I believe this program today may act as a precursor to that, maybe more structured talks. But today with this, and thanks to all of you, it's a wonderful, wonderful session. And I really would like to build up on that in future. With your time, we'll be doing another round of program to know in further details what's happening there. And maybe in that day, Rajarshi and Dr. Kumar will again discuss whether the incursion is by default or by design. We will do that in future. But as of today, we conclude here. Thanks to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
New vaccines, as we have, and by the way, I can today announce that over 500,000 people, more than 500,000 people in the UK have now received their first dose. As we've seen throughout this pandemic, this virus, alas, can move all too swiftly from one nation to another, but it is steadily being defeated by an international response, and an international response that is bringing the hope of vaccines to the entire world. And in that, the UK will continue to play its full part. I now hand over to Secretary of State for Transport, Grant.
Thank you very much, PM. It's just worth knowing what's going on in Kent. Before I came